Hello, this is Usha Menon, zooming in from Singapore, and I'm so delighted to be at the Art Summit to be talking about the metaverse because the disruptions that are happening in this world is happening fast, and the pandemic has sort of helped push it even further and faster. So today I wanted to talk to you about three specific areas. One, the whole idea of the blockchain and the NFT and how that is disrupting the space that we know, in the art space as we know it. The second I want to talk about is crypto philanthropists, because while we've all been into fundraising, there's a whole new segment of donors that have emerged. And having worked with them and having observed them, wanted to share with you some of the motivations of such donors. And thirdly, I wanted to talk about just practices and processes and policies while we embark or enhance our activities in this space. What are some of the risks, possible risks, that we must be aware of so that when we do our fundraising, we do it with full knowledge of how to mitigate the risks as well as how to make the best of what is this emerging trend? Recently, you may have read about how sports and arts came together because Messi decided he would have a Messiverse, and the art pieces that will be available in Messi World. And he, in his Instagram post, said soccer is like art, it is timeless. And maybe I wanted to share with you an idea of how maybe arts can learn from the soccer world. One of the things that the soccer world has is called the fan tokens. Last year, when I spoke at the summit, I talked about fandom. And there I talked about the BTS band and how they mobilize their fans to support the work that they do globally. And this time, I want to talk about fan tokens. It is from the soccer world because clubs have NFT tokens whereby fans can actually buy this digital asset. And that helps both the club and the fan because the fan then gets to purchase things with that token. He gets an opportunity or she gets an opportunity to be part of augmented reality shows. He or she gets the status of a kind of special influencer, a prime influencer. uh, what does that mean? He or she can vote as to what kind of art he wants to see. In the case of soccer, what kind of games he wants to be part of, where should it play, and so on and so forth. Similarly, I believe that this whole fan token idea can translate into our audience, our supporters, our buyers in the art space. So, with the emergence of NFTs, not only do the artists create NFTs that are now considered art, it also involves engaging the audience and supporters and buyers also being part of this NFT space by having these kind of fan tokens. So that's the first point I wanted to talk about was NFTs, the non-fungible tokens, which are able to both create a new market for the artist and create a great user experience for those who consume that art, be it visual, be it performing, as long as it is seen as a relationship. So I find that NFTs going forward would become part of our donor care, whereby you could have NFT, the fan tokens, which becomes part of the donor care portfolio. The second thing I want to talk about is crypto philanthropy. Just like there is new art, there are new collectors and new donors. If you look back in the philanthropic journey, you had those who made the first millionaires, um, that set up foundations and gave away when they have more money than they can spend. They began to give away, and that is the altruistic type of philanthropist. Then came the computer giants and the internet giants, so the Gates of the world, the Zuckerbergs of the world, and then they moved on to evidence based philanthropy. They wanted to know exactly how, why they should invest, whether it was in health, whether it's in arts, whether it's in sports, why they should invest their money in philanthropic areas, but they needed evidence. Now I'm seeing the emergence of the crypto philanthropists, because there are many Bitcoin millionaires, there are many other kind of cryptocurrencies that people have made quite a sizable amount of profits on. And hence now they're looking at what is it that they can do with the money that they have earned or made in terms of return on investment. And they are now moving on to result based philanthropy. It's no longer about what is it, the need, the evidence of a need in which I will invest my philanthropic dollar. It is really looking at the results, because most of the crypto natives are very tech savvy, and they are looking at ways in which they can cut off the middleman. And typically charities have, because of the altruistic way of doing philanthropy, and then the evidence based way of doing philanthropy, has become kind of the middleman that worked with these philanthropists. But now more and more crypto millionaires and billionaires are saying, maybe we don't need that middleman. We will use technology to directly reach the community of need, or directly reach the artist, or that particular performing group, to support them. You don't need an entity to support as a middle person. So, if that is some of the thinking of such philanthropists and donors, we may want to consider how can we make that possible for them to directly support, result-based philanthropy. The other space, other than crypto, is also the live streaming space. We have seen that live streaming has become such an important part of many sectors, and especially because of the pandemic, that has picked up in its popularity. How can we use live streaming to engage with our audience, engage with our viewers in a way that they can immediately respond to an appeal? So it is not about coming to a show and then later on a fundraising director or a fundraising department sending out an email or a snail mail asking them to support the entity. It's while the show is on, people are supporting. And many of the younger generation are used to that, because in the gaming setup, if you know the gaming world, you kind of support the gamer right while he's live streaming. So there is no need for them to stop after the gamer has finished his live stream and then make a donation. This new way of behavior lends itself very nicely to fundraising. How can we live stream in a way that people get excited, motivated, and love with what they are seeing, and then make the contribution in traditional currency or in cryptocurrency? So these are some of the behaviors that I see that lends itself very nicely to the arts community. When I work with the social services or the health organizations, they tell me, oh, the arts sector is so fortunate. They can do these things. We are not able to show an operation taking place and say, make a donation now so that we can save lives. The arts guys can do it. But the question is, are the arts guys doing it or the arts sector doing it? So you may want to really consider how you incorporate live streaming and fundraising into a package so that you get your art to be consumed, to be appreciated, to be loved, while at the same time they respond not just by buying tickets, but also by contributing to the mission and the vision that your charity, arts charity has. And that brings me to the third point about the policies and procedures we need to think about as we move into this new disrupted world. For example, is your organization set up to even accept cryptocurrency? If you are set up to accept crypto donation, which coins, because there are 4,000 over coins, is it Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on and so forth. You decide which ones. Maybe you don't have a platform, you have to, you know, place yourself in a platform that can direct donations in cryptocurrencies to you, and there are plenty. So you want to do the audit of your partnership with a platform so that you can then raise crypto dollars through or cryptocurrency through that particular platform. Having received it, you want to ensure that tax treatment of that donation is understood. Very often, cryptocurrency donation are considered assets rather than cash. So in the books, it usually comes in the assets, i.e., it will be treated like it is treated in a gift in kind situation, and which means you have to then appraise what is the cost of that particular coin and whether you're going to hold it or you're going to sell it. So you need to have your finance department or your investment subcommittee thinking of how that's going to be handled. The other possible risk, of course, is the risk of scam. You want to make sure that the portals or the platforms that you are on, you have done the due diligence with them. You understand both the risks and the benefits, and you have policies and agreements related to mitigating some of those risks. So while it may seem like, oh my God, this is a lot of things to be worried about, let's just stick with the business as usual. The reality is there is a whole segment of donors out there, buyers of your art, audience, consumers of your art that are very willing to provide their contribution in a asset that is not your usual. And if we want to keep up with the times, we want to think about what are some of the steps that need to be taken to incorporate these emerging trends in terms of how are we utilizing the non-fungible token NFT space into our programs. How are we and thinking of our audience or our consumers who now are looking at ways of journeying with us beyond your usual donor recognition or donor acknowledgement. And hence, I talked about the tokens, the fan tokens. And then, of course, you want to understand your cryptocurrency users and investors, and hence donors, whose motivation for giving sometimes may be art, sometimes it's because they really want. So I know a donor who said, well, I did buy that art, but it's not because of the art. I want more and more artists to get to the point where NFT digital art is the norm. So for him, that's a bigger vision than just that, but one piece of art. So there are many who are advocates for that space, and they want to see a thriving sector, art sector, whereby whether it's music, whether it's visual art, the use of technology is being adopted. And there are donors who are willing to contribute so that you can up your digitalization, and you can up your ability to understand and utilize this new emerging and currently rising trend. So I hope the past few minutes have been useful in some way to help you understand how can we be part of that metaverse where many are now moving into. Your art, your performance, your music, will it be heard and seen in the metaverse? I hope it will. I hope to see you there. Thank you.